Why, hello there friends, it's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. I cannot believe that I am coming to you with my May reading wrap-up because it feels like it was about 5 minutes ago that I was sitting down to film my April reading wrap-up. I feel like this time of the year always just speeds up, and here it is June already, which is a little bit crazy. So, look, I've got my summer haircut, which I feel like was a little too short, and it's completely my fault because I asked for it, but it's always so hard to get the right length with my kind of Snow White cut. It goes a little too short, and then after a week or two it grows out and looks better. But right now I'm just waiting for it to regain a little of its length. Before I filled you in on my recent reading, I wanted to let you know a couple of little sort of housekeeping announcements. So I don't think I have shared the schedule for my book club. It's just a casual book club for subscribers. We meet on Google Meet once a month, and we have a book each month that we read and then discuss. So it's just like an hour-long meeting, and sometimes we go off on tangents, and it's really fun. I do have an email list for that, so I email out the link. So if you're interested, you can send me an email, emma@bookishprincess.com, and I will make sure I add you to the list. But these are the dates and books that we're going to be reading this summer. So in June, we're going to be reading Death Comes to the Archbishop by Willa Cather on Saturday, June 24th at 1 p.m. I read Willa Cather, The Lost Lady, last year, and it was really fun. So I'm excited to read that this summer. And then we're not going to do a meeting in July because I feel like July is just so busy with vacations and stuff. But in August, on Saturday, August 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be discussing Joan of Arc by Mark Twain. I'm really excited for this one. I think it's a mix of fact and fiction, but Mark Twain absolutely loved St. Joan of Arc. He found her life to be very inspiring, so I'm very excited to learn more about her life and see Mark Twain's take on it. And then Saturday, September 30th, 1 p.m. Eastern, is going to be The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. We haven't done a Lewis yet, so that should be fun. Saturday, October 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern will be A Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I feel like this should be perfect for Victober and just general spooky Halloween vibes. And then Saturday, December 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So we just have one read for November and December, and we're going to have our discussion for it in early December, kind of sandwiched between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I don't think I've read A Christmas Carol. I've seen, of course, many movie adaptations of it, but it should be really fun to read some Dickens at Christmas time. So that's the book club. And then also, in case you missed it, I'm going to make sure I link it up above and in the description. I did a live show over on Kate Howe's channel, and we had Kate, Anne from Princess Lessons, and Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. And the four of us shared our summer reading plans. We each had 10 books that we shared that we were hoping to tackle, and it was just such an absolute blast. I feel like my TBR has definitely grown because so many of the books they talked about were things that I would love to read. So if you're interested in hearing more about my summer TBR, make sure you go and watch that video. And then my one last note before we get to the books is a quick note about the Book of Cymbeline. So I self-published these on Amazon. They're available in paperback and ebook. And unfortunately, Amazon is increasing their printing charges for paperback books. So the ebook is still going to be the same cost, $2.99 for both of these. But unfortunately, my present cost for these is below the threshold of what the new printing costs are going to allow. So it's only going to be $2 more a book. The original is going to be, I think, $11.99 instead of $9.99. This one, it's slightly longer, which is why it right now is $12.99, and it is going to be $14.99. So it'll be $15. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I don't have to change the price until June 20th. So if you've been thinking about buying the paperback and you want to get it before the price goes up, you should grab it now, because on June 20th, I'll have to make the prices more. But right now, I can leave them low. These are, of course, the tale of my adorable adventurous kitten, Cymbeline. The first is A Kitten's Tale from Summer to Fall, and then A Kitten's Tale from Fall to Winter, so they're going with the seasons. I am currently working on From Winter to Spring, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it done by the end of June. We're already a week into June. When did that happen? But hopefully early July. I have made some progress. I just feel like I've been so scatterbrained. And then I am planning to do one more to finish out the year. So that'll be From Spring to Summer, and hopefully that'll be coming out probably towards the end of summer because I need to get the third one done first. But yeah, my goal is to have all 4 done by the end of the year, and then you'll be able to get them individually as paperbacks, but I also, by Christmas, I'm hoping that I will be able to do like a hardcover, like kind of omnibus version of all 4 books. And I was thinking I might make it a little smaller. This size is 7 by 10, and it is kind of nice because then the illustrations are nice and big. But I thought it might be fun to have the hardcover option a little bit smaller. I'll probably do that 5 by 7. And yeah, like I said, the idea is that it will have all 4 and it will be ready by Christmas. We will see if that actually occurs. Okay, moving on to our actual books that we read in May. First of all, I wanted to tell you about Manalive. This was on my summer reading plans list that we did it in the live show, so I feel pretty good. I've already finished one of my 10 summer books. This is by G.K. Chesterton. I picked it up kind of on a whim at the Basilica of the National Shrine in D.C. They have a bookshop in the basement. I really enjoyed some of Chesterton's other fiction, Poet and the Lunatics and Napoleon of Notting Hill. And this was one I hadn't heard of before, so I thought it'd be really fun to try. And I underlined so many things. I feel like there was just a lot of beautiful description, a lot of really interesting insights, a lot of really interesting, fascinating characters. Very quirky, a comic novel by G.K. Chesterton about murder, bigamy, burglary, insanity, and truth, beauty, and the goodness of life. So here, we'll start with the very first sentence or two. A wind sprang high in the west like a wave of unreasonable happiness and tore eastward across England, trailing with it the frosty scent of forests and the cold intoxication of the sea. In a million holes and corners it refreshed a man like a flagon, and astonished him like a blow. In the inmost chambers of intricate and embowered houses it woke like a domestic explosion, littered the floor with some professor's papers till they seemed as precious as fugitive, or blowing out the candle by which a boy read Treasure Island and wrapping him in roaring dark. So it goes on, but like you can kind of tell just from that there's like something new and fresh and unexpected, and this wind seems to blow a mysterious man into the garden of this boarding house, and everything has been kind of gray and ordinary, like the people are sort of strangers to each other, but when this man arrives, it just sets into motion this new chain of events. I like this. When he first arrives, he like is shown up to his room and he sees like a skylight, and instantly he's like, oh, let's go up there. And the 2 other men who have accompanied him and who are other boarders at the boarding house are like, should we go? Like, but they do follow him up through the window. They both had a light-headed celestial sensation when the door was burst in the roof, as if a door had been burst in the sky, and they could climb onto the very roof of the universe. They were both men who had long been unconsciously imprisoned in the commonplace, though one took it comically and the other seriously. They were both men, nevertheless, in whom sentiment had never died. The commonplace has definitely been swept out the window with the arrival of Innocent Smith is his name. I like how bookish this book is. He's like Treasure Island we had, and here's Swiss Family Robinson. Don't you say a word against the Swiss Family Robinson, cried Innocent with great warmth. It mayn't be exact science, but it's dead accurate philosophy. When you're really shipwrecked, you do really find what you want. When you're really on a desert island, you never find it a desert. If we were really besieged in this garden, we'd find 100 English birds and English berries that we never knew were here. If we were snowed up in this room, we'd be the better for reading scores of books in that bookcase that we don't even know are there. We'd have talks with each other, good, terrible talks that we shall go to the grave without guessing. We'd find materials for everything, christening, marriage, or funeral. Yes, even for a coronation if we didn't decide to be a republic. Because there's kind of this idea that they're going to become a sort of republic of Beacon Hill. Here's another passage about that High Court of Beacon. Yes, there is something, when all is said and done, in the High Court of Beacon. It is really true that human beings might often get some sort of domestic justice where just now they can only get legal injustice. Oh, I am a lawyer too, and I know that as well. It is true that there's too much official and indirect power. Often and often, the thing a whole nation can't settle is just the thing a family could settle. Scores of young criminals have been fined and sent to jail when they ought to have been thrashed and sent to bed. Scores of men, I am sure, have had a lifetime in Hanwell when they only wanted a week at Brighton. There is something in Smith's notion of domestic self-government, and I propose that we put it in practice. There were a lot of really incisive insights about government and punishment, because there is a trial that happens here. Old cruel codes accused a man of theft and sent him to prison for 10 years. The tolerant and humane ticket accuses him of nothing and sends him to prison forever. Okay, Last quotation, I promise. This one is about academia and Cambridge, in fact, in particular. What, the undersigned persons ask themselves, is a puddle? A puddle repeats infinity and is full of light. Nevertheless, if analyzed objectively, a puddle is a piece of dirty water spread very thin on mud. The two great historic universities of England have all this large and level and reflective brilliance. They repeat infinity. They are full of light. Nevertheless, or rather, on the other hand, they are puddles. Such were the thoughts that failed to cross the mind of the undergraduate as he picked his way among the stripes of canal and the glittering rainy gutters into which the water broke up round the back of Breakspear College. Had these thoughts crossed his mind, he would have been very much happier than he was. Unfortunately, he did not know that his puzzles were puddles. He did not know that the academic mind reflects infinity and is full of light by the simple process of being shallow and standing still. In his case, therefore, there was something solemn and even evil about the infinity implied. To him, and nearly all the educated youth of that epoch, the stars were cruel things. Though they glowed in the great dome every night, they were an enormous and ugly secret. They covered the nakedness of nature. They were a glimpse of the iron wheels and pulleys behind the scenes. For the young men of that sad time thought that the God always came from the machine. They did not know that in reality the machine only comes from the God. Anyway, just lots of really thought-provoking, interesting insights. Another excellent Chesterton. You guys may have caught my picnic vlog. I had a really fun meetup with Kate Howe and some other lovely bookish YouTube friends at Pensbury Manor, which is a reconstruction of William Penn's colonial house that was originally built in the 1600s. And it just got me in a colonial mood. We did read The Sherwood Ring, which I wrote a blog post about that too. I absolutely love that book. But I thought I would also pick up this book, A Little Maid of Old Philadelphia, a novel about colonial times originally published in 1919. This is by Alice Turner Curtis. The illustrations are so sweet. They're by Edna Cook. And they're just absolutely adorable. And I had these books growing up, but I hadn't read them since I had grown up. So it was really fun to come back to this. And Pensbury Manor is like kind of along the Delaware outside of Philadelphia. So it was the same general area. I do actually have some of the others. A Little Maid of Ticonderoga, A Little Maid of Virginia, and A Little Maid of Narragansett Bay. And they all have charming illustrations and are just really sweet. This one was written 1922, 1915, 1917. There is a whole, like the series list is there on the back. So there are quite a few of them, but it was really fun to come back. It was just a sweet little story, you know, told from the point of view of a little girl. She loves Lafayette. We're so far removed from the colonial period that obviously we are, you know, reading in books about Lafayette or Hamilton or Washington, but it's fun to kind of think of what it must have been like to live through those times and to like hear about what Lafayette was doing and to really want to meet Lafayette, because the little kids in this book like kind of are making a hero out of Lafayette and want to meet him. It's just fun to think what it would have been like to really live in that time. There's a May Day celebration and they sing some old May Day songs, which I just thought was really sweet. Just very cute, great children's book. This says a story for girls from 7 to 12. I loved historical fiction growing up, so if you have a little one, or if you yourself like historical fiction, definitely would recommend checking out that Little Maid series. I have made some progress in another of the books that I shared in the summer reading plans live stream, and that book is The Newcomes by Thackeray. My mom was on first a Trollope kick and then a Thackeray kick. And I read Rachel Ray by Anthony Trollope last summer and really enjoyed that. So I thought it'd be fun to try a Thackeray this summer, and I ended on The Newcomes, Memoirs of a Most Respectable Family. I'm admittedly not very far in. It's kind of funny, the first part, it starts a little bit slow because he shares this like sort of big allegorical tale. Right after this tale, he says, you know, I probably shouldn't have started the book this way because you've probably already lost patience. Like, you're like, where's the story? Where are the characters? But I did underline a couple quotations already. There may be nothing new under and including the sun, but it looks fresh every morning, and we rise with it to toil, hope, scheme, laugh, struggle, love, suffer until the night comes and quiet. And then will wake morrow, and the eyes that look on it, and so da capo. Here's another one. It does not follow that all men are honest because they are poor, and I have known some who were friendly and generous, although they had plenty of money. There are some great landlords who do not grind down their tenants. There are actually bishops who are not hypocrites. But who ever heard of giving the moral before the fable? Children are only led to accept the one after their delectation over the other. So he's finally getting into the book, but I am already enjoying his voice. So I'm excited to make more progress in the Newcomes. And then one book, so this I've actually been listening to as an audiobook, and I've been kind of listening to it over quite an extended period because I started it during Lent, and I think I did mention it, but it is Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. This is one of those classics that is mentioned in so many other classics. I tried reading it a long time ago, just didn't really feel pulled in. But after I reread Little Women earlier this year, I thought, you know, we're gonna give this another try. I really liked the free LibriVox audio version. Joy Chan was the narrator. I thought she did a great job. Somehow listening to it just helped me get into the flow of it. There was a sort of lyricism about it, and it was just really beautiful. In Little Women, you like get a lot of little slices of Pilgrim's Progress. So it was really fun to like see the original of the things the Little Women characters are talking about. This is, of course, the tale of Christian the pilgrim, and he is on a pilgrimage to God, essentially. And there's lots of allegory and symbolism along the way, because every Christian is on this pilgrimage. That's what life is in a nutshell, is a pilgrimage towards God. And it's just really beautiful the way John Bunyan kind of draws that out and looks at different themes and different ideas. And from this story angle is such a great angle to take. At the beginning, he almost apologizes for it and is like, well, maybe some people feel like I need to treat this subject more seriously, but like, you know, I had this dream, I had this idea, so I'm gonna give it a try. I guess I should give a spoiler warning here, just in case. Spoiler warning. One of the parts that I thought was most powerful was probably pretty far along, 2/3 of the way maybe through the journey. Christian and his companion are going along the way, and it's quite stony and difficult going. And there's a gate right next door to them with some beautiful green grassy pastures, and there's like a path that seems to go right along the way. So they're like, you know what, we're just gonna go in here and cut along the path. Big mistake, obviously. You always want to stay on the way. By going into that green field, they have entered the grounds of Doubting Castle, which is owned by the giant Despair, and they're captured and put in the dungeon. They're feeling despairing and doubting in Doubting Castle when captured by the giant Despair. But then they remember they have a key called Promise in their pocket, and the key will open the gate and let them out. Like, they can just go and open the gate and walk right out of Doubting Castle and away from the giant Despair. And I just thought that was such a fun way to put that lesson, because I think that's totally true. When you're feeling doubt and when you're feeling despair, like, there is a key in your pocket that will let you out. Like, the giant, of course, wants to make you think that you are imprisoned and that you are in chains and that there's no way out of this castle, but you have the key in your pocket. It is Christ's promise and Christ's love for you. And so, like Christian and his companion, you can unlock the gate and get out of there and get your way and get back to the way. I did not realize there's a part 2 to Pilgrim's Progress. So when Christian, you know, finished his journey along the way, finished his pilgrimage, I thought that was the end. And then it turns out there's a whole second part, which I already gave you the spoiler warning if you don't want to know about it. But at the very beginning, Christian lives in the city of destruction, and he has this feeling that he needs to leave. He needs to go and start on his pilgrimage right away, but he tries to convince his wife and children that they need to come along too, but they think he's crazy. And so he realizes, I have to go, and so he goes alone. Part 2, his wife, Christiana, and their children, they wake up and they realize, you know, we need to get out of here. Christiana has this dream where there are these 2 sinister people kind of standing over her, talking about how they can prevent her from going on pilgrimage. And that's kind of what makes her realize, okay, I need to go and enter at the gate. Christiana and her children are accompanied by a young woman named Mercy, and also by Greatheart, who is their guide and helps them along the way. And when they get to Doubting Castle this time, Christian's 4 sons and Greatheart like mount a war on Doubting Castle and like dismantle it and destroy the giants. I just thought that was a really great conclusion to it, and actually kind of ties in with like Manalive. I don't want to give too much away from Manalive, but that the main character also definitely doesn't have patience with despair is probably the best way to put it. I feel like I've seen this in other books too. A quotation I like to remember is from Emily of Deep Valley by Maud Hart Lovelace, and it's about how, well, I guess this isn't quite despair, but it's how loneliness should be fought like an enemy with a gun, something like that. And that book, Emily of Deep Valley, is really struggling against, you know, this feeling of purposelessness, this feeling of loneliness, this feeling, a feeling like she's trapped. I just like how she conceptualizes that feeling as an enemy with a gun. Like this is not, you're not messing around here. This is not a feeling that you're going to negotiate with or humor. Like, this is an enemy that you need to look at it like an enemy. I just think that's a great, great kind of mindset to have, because like despair and doubt can come to all of us, but the despair and doubt don't have to be who you are. It's the way you react to them that you know, you choose which way to follow, which pilgrimage to take. The end of part 2 is very satisfying because there's quite a collection of different pilgrims that we meet in. I mean, we met a lot of pilgrims in part 1 too, but especially in part 2, I feel like there are a lot of pilgrims who like really go the distance and like are committed to the path, and we get to see all of their endings, which is beautiful. If you've been thinking about trying Pilgrim's Progress, I would definitely recommend it. Christy actually, Christy Lewis and Dostoevsky in Space is doing a book club with another booktuber for Pilgrim's Progress this summer. I don't think she's announced yet whether it's a live stream or like a Zoom call, but I might see when they're doing that and try to join in, because I feel like Pilgrim's Progress will still be fairly fresh in my mind because I did just finally finish up the audio. Christy also mentioned Pilgrim's Regress, which apparently was written by C.S. Lewis, like very much, I think, as kind of a modern day retelling of Pilgrim's Progress. So I need to look that up. All right. I've come to my last 2 books, which these are also books that I'm just like in progress. I feel like I read bits and pieces of a lot of books, and I did finish Pilgrim's Progress. I finished Little Maid of Old Philadelphia. I finished Manalive, but a lot of these other ones I just like made a little progress here, a little progress there. I do still have time though for Death Comes for the Archbishop, because this is our June read. I just thought I'd get a little bit of a head start on it. And I purchased this book, so I have some very exciting new vlogs coming for you guys. I recently went on a quick jaunt into Manhattan, New York City, and of course I had to visit some libraries and bookstores, and I did actually purchase, I was very restrained, I just purchased 2 books at the beautiful bookshops I was at, but I thought it'd be fun to buy Death Comes for the Archbishop, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it and will want to have it on my shelf. And it is always fun when I travel and I buy a book. It's like when I read that book in the future, I remember when I got it. It's always a fun trip memory. And then this, I've really been enjoying. This was picked up more on a whim. It's called Vogue on Coco Chanel by Bronwyn Cosgrave. Coco Chanel, I feel like Coco Chanel is of course like a famous fashion designer, fashion icon, and she had quite a life. She was born in 1883, but then of course she was designing like early 1900s, 1940s, 1950s, like the whole swath of her career covered so many like drastic changes in fashion, and I've been kind of wanting to find a biography on her. I feel like whenever I see them in bookshops, I'm like, oh, that looks kind of interesting, but is that the one I want to get? Like, I wasn't sure which biography to get, but this one I spotted at the Rizzoli bookstore, which is the self-proclaimed most beautiful bookstore in New York. It was quite beautiful, I have to say. It's down by Madison Square, and they did give you a little bookmark, which is really fun. But yeah, this one just spoke to me, and what I really loved about it is that you have all of these pictures, and it's so fun because these are all like pictures from Vogue. So like things that were in the magazine back in like the 1910s, and then things that were in the magazine in the 1920s and 30s, and like you just see all these fun different you get to see like this contemporary coverage of Coco Chanel alongside like descriptions and like the author's kind of narration. But yeah, the pictures were definitely what made me want to grab this one. There's so many gorgeous photographs. I mean, well, see, at first it's like illustrations because photographs weren't even a thing. It seems like she had a very varied life, certainly, and created some spectacular designs. I did think it was interesting at the beginning. She was an orphan, so she was raised in an orphanage run by nuns, and it was quite strict, I believe. And yet, like some of the discipline and like color schemes and like inspiration. They talk about how that was actually really foundational for her designs, and like was something she carried through all of her designs. And you know, it made me think I need to ask my cousin what book this is, because my cousin Becky was recently telling me about a book in which there's a abbess, so the head of a nunnery, who also loved fashion growing up, but then she just fell in love with the life at the Abbey and fell in love with Christ and realized that that was her calling, not fashion. And I can't remember the name of that book now, but it just put me in mind of this. A little bit of an impulse purchase, but a fun one for New York, and looking forward to finishing that. So fun to see all the fashion. And I do have lots and lots of fun videos from New York, which I have to figure out when I want to get around to editing them, because I also am trying to work on the Book of Cymbeline. I might not have a video next Monday. I might do a New York video the Monday after that. So we'll see. We'll see how busy things are and what I can get to. But I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up of my May reading month. I would love to hear what you've been reading down in the comments. If you have any plans for summer, if you've been doing any bookstore shopping or browsing recently. I'll talk to you again soon, and until then, stay bookish. Bye.